Hello students, welcome to Learner's Planet theory session, problem solving session 5 of carbon and its compounds. In this session we will be solving questions related to the chemical properties of ethanol, also about the nomenclature of alcohols. So let's start solving this. Our first question here is, write the IUPAC names of given structures. So the structure 1 here, this is A and this is B. So what is your A? What would be the IUPAC name of this? How we name the compounds? We just number the carbon atoms. And what compound is this? This is an alcohol. Why? Because it contains a hydroxy group. So how it would be named? It would be named as alkanol, right? But as your hydroxyl group is not present in the terminal position, what is required is you need to tell the position also. Now let's see how many carbon atoms are there. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. The rule is that your substituent, the carbon atom with the substituent should get the least number, right? But it will, in this case, it will remain the same. So let's write its name. It should be 3 propanol, or it can be propan 3-ol. It's better you name it like this, right? Now your next compound, this has got how many hydroxyl groups here? This has got 2 hydroxyl groups. This is again a alcohol. Now from which side we should number? The rule is that the carbon atom bonded or having substituents should get the least number. So we will number it from this side, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So what should be its name? It should be diol, okay, or it should be heptane 2,2-diol, or it should be heptane diol. Okay, or 3,3, yeah, it should be heptane 3,3-diol, because you can't put it as a prefix. It has to be present as a secondary suffix. So it is named like this. Let's take up our next question. It is, what are the products of the given reaction? So what will be the products formed here? It is alkaline potassium permanganate. Remember students, we are not burning it. We are not treating it with excess oxygen and heat and heating. We are treating it with an oxidizing agent that is in the presence of oxygen. So it won't be completely converted into carbon dioxide and water. What will be formed here is an acid. So it will form CH3COOH, and what else? There is a acid formed, right? And water. So alcohols in the presence of alkaline potassium permanganate or potassium dichromate are converted to acids, right? Remember, the number of carbon atoms should be the same. That is, how many carbon atoms are there? There are 2 carbon atoms here. And there should be 2 carbon atoms here also. So what was this alcohol? This was ethanol. And it is converted to which acid? It is converted to ethanoic acid. Okay? So this would be the product. Now how many hydrogens are here? That is 3, 3, 6. How many we are getting here? 2. So 1 molecule of water also. So remember, it can be any alcohol. I can take here C3H7 and OH. If I treat it with alkaline potassium permanganate and heat it, what will happen? This propanol will be converted to propanoic acid, that is C2H5COOH and water. Right? So any alcohol, when is treated with potassium permanganate alkaline or potassium dichromate, what it forms is an acid. Now let's take up our next question. What are the products formed when ethanol reacts with sodium? So what is the formula of ethanol? C2H5OH. It is reacting with sodium metal. Now what will happen? The H of hydroxide is replaced by Na and it forms C2H5ONa plus of H2 gas. Now here students, due to the evolution of this H2 gas, will get a popping sound and the bubbles will be obtained. In order to balance this reaction, I'll make it 2. Okay, it can be any alcohol. It can be pentanol, that is C5H11 and OH. If it is treated with sodium metal, what we will get here is we will get sodium. This is what? Sodium methoxide. So it will be sodium pentoxide, that is C5H11ONa and hydrogen gas. So the above one is what? An alkoxide, that is sodium ethoxide. Right? This is pentoxide. So this is a reaction with sodium metal, and you know this reaction can also be used for testing the presence of alcohol, because alcohols with sodium, they give hydrogen gas and it gives bubbles. Now our next question here is, what are the products formed in the given reaction? Now this concentrated H2SO4 is a dehydrating agent. What do you mean by a dehydrating agent? Concentrated H2SO4 is a dehydrating agent. It means what it is doing, it is taking up a water molecule, right? So if I am writing C3H7 like this, and I'm treating this with, the reaction is with concentrated sulfuric acid, what it will do? Water molecule is given out, right? And your formula becomes CH double bond CH2. How this water molecule is formed? I'll tell you about this. This is CH3, CH2, CH, H, and OH. So this is the way how your water molecule is formed. And what are the products I'm getting here? CH3, there will be some rearrangement, and CH2. So remember, alcohols in the presence of concentrated sulfuric acid at 170 degrees centigrade form alkene, whereas alcohols with concentrated sulfuric acid at 140 degree they form ethers. Okay, so depending on the temperature the reaction takes place, you remember this reaction only. That is, alcohols with concentrated sulfuric acid at 170 degrees centigrade forms alkenes. That is, it undergoes elimination reaction. Let's take up our next question. Yeah, it is, what are the products formed when propanoic acid reacts with ethanol in the presence of concentrated sulfuric acid? Right? So let's write the formula of propanoic acid. Propanoic, propane. How many carbon atoms? 3. So it should be C2H5COOH. This is reacting with ethanol, that is HOC2H5. In the presence of few drops, remember it is few drops of concentrated sulfuric acid. Then what will happen? The reaction goes out like this. And what we get here is C2H5OOC2, it should be C2H5COOC2H5. So it is H2SO4 and we will get C2H5COOC2H5. That is an ester. The name is ethyl propanoate. Okay, so this is how the reaction goes on. If I take a butanoic acid, or I take butanoic acid, we can take C3H7COOH with an ethanol or a propanol. Let's take a propanol, that is HOC3H7, and if I treat this with few drops of concentrated sulfuric acid, what I'll get, again this will be the product, it will go like this. So this would be the product formed, that is minus of H2O, and the product formed would be C3H7COO C3H7, that is propyl butanoate. Right? So the reaction goes on like this. Let's take up our next question. I hope you are enjoying these questions. Give one test for the detection of alcohols. I told you that alcohols react with sodium metal and they give what? They give a particular metal alkoxide and hydrogen gas is evolved. So this can be used as one test, right? Likewise, the another test, so this can be one test, and the another test, if you are provided with an organic compound in a test tube or in a beaker, now if you add to that organic compound and if you add acid to it, that is any carboxylic acid, I can take your propanoic acid, right? Now after addition of this few drop acid and few drops of sulfuric acid, that is few drops, and some fruity smell comes, or sweet smell is coming. Now this confirms that your organic compound is an alcohol, right? So what it is confirming, that the organic compound is an alcohol, because alcohols react with acids forming an ester, that is CH3OH will react with C2H5COOH and it will give C2H5COOCH3, and it has got a fruity smell or a sweet smell. So this is your test for detection of alcohols. Let's take up our next question. Yeah, ethyl alcohol is denatured by adding what all what all can be added to ethyl alcohol? To denature it, methyl alcohol can be added. Your methyl alcohol is poisonous. It damages optic nerves and it causes blindness. It also affects the liver, right? So it is poisonous in nature. Or we can add pyridine, or copper sulfate is also added. Now this copper sulfate imparts blue color to the alcohol, to the ethyl alcohol. So that can be denatured or can be made unfit for drinking by adding any of these. Now our next question here is, dash can be used for the manufacture of alcohol. What can be used? For industrial preparation or the manufacture of alcohol, what is done is that sugar is taken, right? Sugar, the fermentation of sugar. Fermentation of sugar is done for industrial preparation of alcohols, okay? Preparation of alcohols. Here what can we use is, we can also use ethane, right? We can also use C2H5Cl and treat it with aqueous potassium hydroxide, where we can treat it with potassium hydroxide and we will get what? Alcohols. C2H5OH and KCl. But this ethane can be used for the manufacture of alcohol. We can manufacture alcohol by fermentation of sugar. That is, the sugar can be used for the manufacture of alcohols, whereas ethane can also be used for preparing alcohols, or ethene can be used, that is C2H4. Okay, the C2H4 can also be used for the preparation of alcohols. It can also be prepared from ethyl chloride. Right? So these agents or these compounds can be used for preparing alcohols. Ethene, that is C2H4. If your ethene, that is C2H4, is treated with water in the presence of acid, that is sulfuric acid, if it is treated in the presence of sulfuric acid, that is H2SO4, what I'll get here is C2H5OH. Okay, so this your alcohol or ethanol can be prepared by this. Even your this can be prepared by using either ethyl chloride or alkene. It is manufactured by the fermentation of sugar. Now our next question is, dash is the general formula for alcohols. What is it? CnH2n plus 2 minus 1 OH. So this is your general formula for alcohols. Now let's take up our next question. What is the composition of rectified spirit? What is it? Rectified spirit is it is 95.5% ethanol and 4.5% H2O. Okay. There is one more, absolute alcohol. What is absolute alcohol? Absolute alcohol is 99.5% ethanol and 0.5% H2O. So this is what? This is 100% alcohol. Okay. Now our next question is, what are the products formed on alkaline hydrolysis of ethyl propanoate? So C2H5COO C2H5. Now if I am treating this with an alkali, that is I am doing its alkaline hydrolysis, so what I'll get? I told you that the thing which is on the LHS comes from the acid and the RHS comes from the alcohol. So what will be the product? C2H5COOH plus of C2H5OH. Remember that we discussed this in our theory session, that in the ester, the one which is on the LHS side is coming from the acid and one which is on the RHS side is coming from the alcohol. So the products will be propanoic acid and ethanol. Right? Now let's take up our next question. Oh, so this was the last question. If I take up, say, one more example of this thing, C3H7COO C2H5, and if I am doing its alkaline hydrolysis, what I'll get here is alkaline, that is in the presence of NaOH. I'll get C3H7COOH plus of C2H5OH. That is your butanoic acid. I hope now you can name the compounds. And ethanol. Right? So this is also called as saponification. The thing which we get here is actually the sodium salt of acid. That is, in the previous reaction we are getting C2H5COONA. This is a soap. Right? This is also a soap. So this is all about the questions related to alcohols. In my next session we will be solving questions related to the properties of acids and also about the soaps. I hope you enjoyed this session. Students, please try to solve as many questions as you can. I hope this session is useful to you. Thank you very much for listening patiently.